Hello everyone, welcome to another video. A few weeks ago I featured the Agfa Silette and explained that it was a nice cheap option for those of you looking to perhaps get into film photography for the first time or like the idea of collecting vintage cameras. I mentioned at the time there were many Agfa Silettes, so this week we're time to look at another one, and this is the Agfa Silette 2, so let's jump straight in. So here we go, Agfa Silette 2. It's probably wise that you look at my previous video on the Agfa Silette. I'll leave a link up here. It's not essential, it just might make a bit more sense so you can see what's changed. So that camera came out in '57, this one is 1962 first of all. Still a 35mm camera though. But with some minor upgrades to the abilities, settings, etc. that you can use it for. So again, as per usual, I'll start on the back. Got a viewfinder here. On top we have our wind back spool, which is a bit more sophisticated now. We've got the little crank lever to actually wind, whereas before it was just a dial. Big upgrade, this is now a hot shoe for a flash as opposed to just the cold shoe before. So on the previous one it was a cold shoe here, and you had down here you had a sync port, whereas now it's a hot shoe. Again, we have our wind on here, which is actually really nice and smooth and clean feel to it. Does have prevention for double exposure though, so that's now locked until I actually press the shutter release. On the back here we have a release, so once you're done with the film, this is the button that you will often find on the bottom of a camera that basically releases it so you can then wind it back onto the spool. Round to the front. We have obviously the viewfinder window, and another upgrade now we have this second window, which is what's known as a bright line viewfinder. I'll come back to that and show you what I mean by it in a moment. The lens on this is a slightly better lens as well. It's a bit brighter. This is a 45mm f2.8 lens called the Agfa. And we've got obviously our sort of usual controls on here. We have our focusing ring first of all, the indicator for which is just at the top here, a little white symbol. Focusing goes from about 3 feet to infinity, and they're very helpful if you can't picture that. They've got little pictures here that show you what that represents. So we've got a group of people here as sort of mid-range, or we've got a church which presumably is your sort of far range, etc. But yeah, so focusing ring there. In the middle then we have our shutter speed, which you can probably see the red indicator there. So we've got a bulb setting, and then it runs from 1/30th to 125th of a second, which is a slightly narrower range than the previous one. And then we have over here at the back of our camera, we have another ring for our aperture. As I said to you, f2.8, and it goes right down to f22. Our shutter release has moved, it's now on the side here, so if I just wind this on again, you'll see that takes the picture there, which is really relatively straightforward. And we've got a little self-timer here, which you can slide over, takes the shot. I think it's 8 seconds, I'm not too sure. It's probably going to vary because it's a kind of clockwork option rather than electronic. On the bottom then we've got the mechanism for opening the back, and basically once you flip that over the whole back comes off, and as you can see we've got sort of standard insides for a 35mm. Film goes in here. No need to actually lift this because there's a nice big gap to put the film in, and obviously it's a dedicated take-up spool as well. I'm back on. And just pop that back into place. Also got a tripod mount. The only other thing left to show you on the outside is the frame counter here. Basically, when you first put the film in, you have to manually set this to whatever it is. So if it was a 36 exposure film, then obviously you would put 36 in there. And it counts down rather than up. So it does catch a few people off guard to start with. But you'll see now, so I've set that to 36, wind it on, take a shot, and you can see it going down. Right, so I've pointed my camera up at the window to give us a bit of light. I'm going to show you what I meant by this bright line viewfinder. So basically, if I hold the camera up, so hopefully you'll be able to see through the viewfinder, you may notice at the corners of the viewfinder, as I move it around, there are what's known as parallax lines. Now I'll come back to what parallax lines actually do on another video, because it's a topic of its own. But for now, let's just explain how they're showing up. This second window has the bright lines, the parallax lines actually embedded into it, and by light shining through that, those lines are then superimposed onto the viewfinder. So yeah, basically another way of framing your shot, if you like. If we just show you the size-by-size comparison of the two cameras, you can see they are pretty much the same size. The previous Silette just slightly bigger, certainly heavier than the Silette 2. But I think both would make quite good street photography cameras because they're quite inconspicuous and easy to pocket, along with the Lomo Cosmic 35 that I showed you in the last video. All three, I think, make really nice cameras, especially the Cosmic, because it is very, very small and neat. But there you go, the Agfa Silette 2. Another cheap and cheerful option for those looking to get into vintage film photography or collecting the cameras. That's it for another video. Thank you ever so much for watching. Really do appreciate it. I know I say it on every video, but all the likes, subscriptions, the sharing, comments, etc., they really mean the world to me. So please keep it up. I really do appreciate it. So all that remains for me to say is thank you very much, and I'll see you again soon.